I'll introduce everything. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You never know what's going to happen in the sport of boxing on a super fight night. But today we're going to
Mm-hmm.
get directly into what happened in this era's Hagler
Mm-hmm.
Hearns that ended up quite not being that fight.
Woo!
More like Arturo Gotti, Floyd Mayweather, or Floyd
Mayweather.
Mayweather, Diego Corrales. But regardless, we owe the fans, and that's what we're going to jump off right now. This is the fight show with my guys over here to my right, Sugar Shane, and my man Steven. We're about to get it in. I called you Sugar Shane, but sorry.
You know what it is.
I say
I've been on the
it's
show a couple of
it
times. You
flowed
know what
up.
it is.
You know what? You know what? Let me go ahead and address that. You got to pound your own name, your own nickname so hard that nobody ever does that. But
Right, right,
we
right,
are here
right.
today to get it popping, man. So we thank all of you who are joining in right now. I see you climbing in. Make sure you let us know exactly where you're watching from when you drop onto the feed. We want to know exactly where you're watching from, and this is where we're going to go right now. Special shouts out to my sponsors over at Stretch Lab, where all of the athletes and the people that are in
Mm-hmm.
sports performance, all on any level, or just basically recovery. This is all about getting that flexology on board. I try to make it clear to the athletes that the first part is training, the second part is recovery. Anything without that, one without the other, you're going backwards anyway. So there we go, guys. Let's get it popping, man. On to the fights last week. Now we have a guy who was actually at the fights. First of all, I
Yes,
want to hear
sir.
exactly what that experience was like because you were lit.
Yeah, yeah. It was a huge difference from watching on the television. Like that was my
Yeah.
first time actually being at a fight, and to
Oh yeah.
be at the fight for the very first time, that type of fight on that type of scale, it was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my god, a lot of people was
Yeah.
out there for Arrow, and
Yeah.
Oh.
if you could
Oh.
see their faces,
Oh.
I turned around
Oh
and
yeah.
you would have thought somebody died. Like the
Oh
oh
yeah.
my,
Oh yeah.
it
I
went
can
as
imagine.
it went the direction that I thought that I gave it to Terrence Crawford, but I didn't think it was gonna go down like that.
Yeah.
I couldn't
Yeah.
anticipate it that early too on the
Yeah.
second round.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, the energy in that
Yeah.
room, it was amazing. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Even his intro, his walk-in with Eminem in the
That was
fishnet,
my
he
that was
won
my
right
favorite.
there. He won right there.
he
He
won
won
in the
right there.
entrance. He took his
Yeah.
sweet time. He really soaked in he really soaked it in. He took his time. He didn't rush. He stopped for a little bit. He turned around and he was like, "This is my moment right here."
Oh
And
yeah.
then he told Eminem, "Let's go." And they
Yeah.
walked off. Oh, I was in shock. It was an amazing experience. It
You
was an
just
amazing
knew.
experience
You can't lose if Eminem gives you that kind of plug.
with
You
that song.
cannot lose the fight.
Mm, mm,
You can
mm.
do a lot, but do not lose this fight. You know,
No.
you can have a bad round, you can get knocked down. Just don't lose that fight after
Just don't.
that plug. I recorded that plug
Hmm.
alone. I'm gonna put it somewhere in one of my mixes for
Right.
sure.
You know what's crazy too? I got
Yeah,
my tickets and I didn't know exactly where I was sitting, but I sat
yeah.
directly where they were coming out the entrance.
Mm-hmm.
So all I had to do was look down and I saw everybody coming out. So
Wow.
truly
Wow.
a blessing, a crazy experience. But
Yeah.
if we want to talk about the fight,
Oh
your
yeah.
boy, your boy
Before
Terrence,
you
man.
get started, I see my man Caesar was like it looked like a practice day for Bud. I don't know. Sparring is a little tougher than that.
Hmm.
You
Dang.
know what I'm saying? I don't know what gyms
Pop,
you
pop,
used to
pop,
see.
pop.
Yeah, dude. Look, our sparring sessions, them smokers, it was that wasn't even on that level. It was one sided, man. It's just what happens when the angles change and
Hmm.
you get met with somebody who can deal with what you got. You can't bully your way through boxing. Mike Tyson will tell you that. You know,
Hmm.
that runs out. But go ahead, tell us about your experience, and then we'll get to the fans' comments as soon as
Okay.
you get done.
I was shocked. Like, I knew that they were gonna fill each other out that first round, and
Yeah,
see the distancing and the pacing, and try to feel each other's speed, and who
yeah,
was going to show their dominance. in the beginning of the fight,
Yeah.
and it was pretty calm and collective. That's what I anticipated. I thought it was gonna feel a little bit more of that in the second round,
Mm-hmm.
but Crawford, it's
Had
like
other plans.
he was so ahead of the game. I was watching it, and right before Earl let off, Crawford popped him, and he
Yeah.
did it 3 times in a row, and I was like, it's done.
Yeah.
Crawford already knows, he already sees the flaw, and he's capitalizing on it so early. He even
Yeah.
threw Earl, because we've been hearing for 5 years now, oh, you too little, you too little. He even threw Earl, pushed him across the stage. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And he took over the dominance.
Yeah.
Ah,
Never tell a fighter he's too strong or too
mhm,
small. You never do that. You never give him fuel.
mhm.
You never give him an opportunity to
To prove you
ignite his
wrong.
his inner being
Hmm.
and stuff. So I want you fans to just hold on for a second, drop your questions, and I'm gonna pull a couple of questions up here, or what your insights. But and then we're going to get into another breakdown. And so tell me one other thing that I want to know. What was the experience like when you were actually at the fight and you got to really see it? Because you don't get to commentating at the fight, which
Hmm.
is, to me, it at least keeps you in.
Yes,
I did
yes.
hear from Jim Lampley, and as much as I just despise a lot of his commentating, I
Hmm.
miss his voice because he makes the fight feel as big as it actually is. That's one thing he could do. And I do miss that component. I was like, man, am I just old? But I just miss hearing a voice that makes the fight. He's as big as the fight is, and I love that. And
Absolutely.
I don't even remember who was commentating, but what was the difference for you watching it right there, seeing the punches land? Was it more impactful, or would you rather have seen it at home like we were enjoying it?
It's pros and cons. It's pros and cons. The pro
Mhm.
is you actually get to see all these celebrities and
Yeah,
that come through, and it's kind of like a little show, not just a
it's a show.
just yeah, it's
It's
also
a
a show.
show.
I saw Andre 3000, E40, Little Wayne, Floyd Mayweather,
Yeah,
Sharp, from ESPN, all these people,
yeah,
um, but you can't hear the punches. You know what I'm saying, from a certain distance. You
yeah,
can't hear the commentating.
yeah.
So it's pros and cons, but you do feel the energy in the room.
The fight
You
looks
do
different too.
you do get the random people that you don't even know just because you're going for Terrence, and they know that they're
Yeah.
hugging you, they loving you.
Oh yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? It's just a whole different type of feeling.
Hmm.
Also, when you're watching it live, sometimes the ref does get in the way and you can't see everything for every
Oh
second.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I'm
It's no
saying?
angles. The cameras don't change.
Yeah, yeah,
You better get good seats.
yeah. And
It
you
ain't
may
no
get
real. Honestly, what about you, Shane? Is it really a good seat? Because if the thing go to the other side of the ring and somebody's in front of you, like as
So
far as
is
the ref
so my favorite part of the my favorite area to sit in is actually just that level right above the
above,
floor, right
yeah,
above
Mhm,
the floor, right
yeah,
mhm,
where you're like equal or like just a little bit
to the
higher than the
head,
ring. Yep, and so you can kind of see that is I feel like the best area to sit, no matter where in the arena.
mhm,
Like if you get like right above the floor level, you got
yeah.
mhm.
the best seat in the house because you get that eye level right there. So that's my favorite.
Yeah, I
Beautiful.
think I enjoy that. I ringside. It's really tough even when you're in the corner because it's hard to really see past the feet and at times, and you got to keep parrying your head and you can't move so far. Or hey, it's chill in your seat.
Mhm.
Like so, it is that second row of that level above, where you're able to get that angle down. It seemed like symmetry. You was kind of right there though. You
Mhm.
weren't you didn't have a
No, no.
bad. You didn't
I
have
had a
things.
great I
Yeah,
had great seats. I had great seats. It's just if the ref got in front of them, you can't
yeah,
see all the shots, of course.
Mm.
yeah.
But even the people that were sitting on the floor, I saw them looking up and looking at the giant monitor,
That's
right?
the
Hmm.
worst. Yeah,
Yeah, so they
yeah,
have outer monitors, and then
yeah.
they also have an inner monitor.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't even know about that one, but yeah.
Well, cool. Well,
Mhm,
that's good, man. What we are gonna, Shane, I want to get Shane's perspective because I saw
mhm,
your pre-fight prediction on your Instagram,
Yes, I did.
and so follow Shane at Shane Mosley Jr. on Instagram. Go check his feeds out. He got some good stuff up and definitely coming up. But I saw your little thing. That was good. Did it right in front of the crib. And yeah, that was good. I like that impromptu stuff. So tell me, what was your take? And after you talk, we're going to get into the real breakdown of round by round. Go ahead.
All right, so I felt like I said in my little take,
Yeah.
that I felt that Terrence was going to win, and he was going to uh, essentially figure out what it takes to win, right? And I didn't
Mhm.
think that was going to happen in the first 30 seconds of the fight, which it did. Like he took away his jab in the first 30 seconds of the fight. You could
Yeah.
see him varying his jab,
Hmm.
him catching the jab, boom, and then like right before 30 seconds hit, boom, he hits him with the jab right over the top, boom, boom, and you go,
Yeah.
whoa, that easy,
Yeah.
that easy, and then so I know a guy personally that has talked to him about it and kind of saying, oh, you were trying to take away his jab, and he said, no, I was actually trying to take away his left hand, and
Mm.
he
Yeah.
said, I took it away in the second round, and after that it was a wrap. He said once I
Wow.
took away in the second round, and you could see right after he took it away, that's when he landed the 2-1 right
Yeah.
over the top.
Mm.
So I mean, obviously, it took a little a little bit longer because like he went over the jab, right?
Shane, I
But
want I
my
want you
bad.
to
Go
speak
ahead.
to that 2-1. Explain to people, because as an amateur, people get taught the 1-2. Explain the
My
2-1, break the 2-1 down so people who are watching really understand, people who are from the outside of the boxing world and low level experienced boxers.
All right. So listen. One of my coaches was Brother Nazim Richardson. He
Oh,
used to say he used to say and tell us all the time, um, you gotta punch him when the door's open, right? So like obviously when he opens the door, that door is open. That side is open. So if you go same side, if you go boom, boom and go over it,
yeah.
he left the door open,
Yes.
right? So you want to go
Yeah.
where the open door is rather than
Yeah.
Mhm.
trying to punch through the door, find the window, right?
Yes.
Yes.
You want to go through the open door. And you only get that usually after they start shooting. So
Mm.
you got to be calm in those moments, boom,
Yes.
and come right over the top, right? So that's exactly
Yeah.
what he did. He actually pushed the body jab down and went right over the body jab. But you could do the same thing for the straight jab as well.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh, you almost making me tear up. Did Nazem Richardson work with you when Shane was about to fight Floyd? I remember that 24/7. Did you get to
Yep.
work with him some then when you were a young pup though? You were still snotty nose.
Oh well. Yeah. Actually, he
Yeah.
during that time and a little bit before, we had worked like 2 years before that. So
Hmm.
he was working with me as an amateur, and I would be with the Concrete Jungle.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
Yeah.
so
That's
so so
fun.
I was with all those guys, and they accepted me as one of their own. So that was
Yeah.
cool.
That was
And I love
beautiful.
Brother Nazim, and he was my coach for the Contender, and then a fight after that.
Oh yeah, because when he departed, I had Steve Cunningham on the show and Otis as well, and I definitely I missed that guy. I wanted to talk with him on this show because the wisdom that he brought. I took 2 or 3 of his sound bites, and I'll never stop saying "swim without getting wet."
Swim without getting wet, baby.
Mm.
I'm actually gonna be doing a breakdown of that because a lot of
Yes,
people don't know what a lot of people don't know what that
yeah,
means.
yeah.
So
Well, that's
I gotta give it
beautiful,
I gotta give it
and
to him.
that's
I gotta
it.
give it to him.
Look, this is what I say
River
to
on those
you,
sides and swim without
Shane.
getting wet.
Yeah, oh my gosh. You can do something for the audience, the people who are real boxing fans. And I'm talking about even the Bud Crawfords and the Errol Spencers who came after that legendary time in boxing, that you can
Mhm.
really talk about what was happening then. Because what's happening then is not happening that way now. It's a different era. So just you talking to people about legends. Nassim Richardson was a legend for those of you who do not know, from the streets of Philadelphia, just like my coach, and just was an encyclopedia of not just verbal linguistics, but understanding the psychology of a human being.
Mm.
Right.
He would go into your mind in ways. So if you have not seen Brother Nassim, pull him up and just listen to any interviews of him if you have not, because you are talking about getting an earful and he always was able to turn it on. So I can't wait for you to start really peeling back and telling some stories about him. He's just
Oh yeah.
I just loved him to pieces, man. So good stuff. So round, let's go into the side of the fight where we're talking about the coaches. After I read one of these comments, Jaron Boost Ennis will take
Stop it.
Crawford's belts. I
Stop it.
don't know why everyone thought Spence would be stronger than Crawford, but Crawford was amateur wrestler and he is a strong guy. Yes, he is. Don't rush. Don't. I would. Speaking from now. I'm speaking from an expert point of view. You don't rush someone into that kind of smoke because just because you see a guy doing boxing moves and skills, that does not equate to highest level of craft and caginess, because you learn to take away what no one has ever taken away from him, and you end up looking like Errol Spence.
Mhm.
Okay, Errol Spence arguably only won one round, and that was the first round, and you could give it to whoever you wanted to.
Yeah.
See, this is what people don't understand about highest level boxing. The levels never stop changing. So if you haven't even gotten a title yet, you got so many levels left to see, you can't even imagine. But when you do get the title, and if you've done what Bud is doing, he unified it at 40 and 47. You better understand what that means. And I don't think people really understand what that means. He's the only guy in the four belt era to have done that. And we're talking about all of the killers that have been in this era. Sugar Ray Leonard was in the four belt era. So let me just put that out there. What he just did, don't think it was just a Saturday night. That was world record level stuff. And against the kind of opponent is
And
just no
don't
joke.
and don't let him go to 154 because he might be
Stronger.
undisputed 3 times.
Yeah, because he's carrying that power. Yeah, that power, that's a different kind of power. I mean, when I
Man,
seen him extend his arms, his length, the length, when you saw the length of his arms when he
right.
throws a punch, just watch. It's like they extend another 8 inches. I know I got the monkey arms too. And when I saw him throw it, I said, "Oh, people can underestimate his range." And he does have a freaky range. Let me see. I'm gonna get one more before YouTube. I gotta read it first. Somebody's writing in Spanish. I can't read it. It's P. Hey man, say something. Tell us about the fight. Let's tell us about the fight. Oh, here go my guy. Do you think Mayweather should fight Crawford and hang
Come
up
on.
the gloves, or just fight anyone fighter, the top five, 147 or 154? No, Floyd, he don't want to fight real fighters, but
Yeah.
I mean that's a question that you gotta ask. I mean, I get it because Floyd was there. Usually when fighters are at fights, like someone like Floyd, he's scouting, but no, he's not gonna fight a fighter.
I
It
would think
doesn't
it would
do.
be stupid for him. It would be stupid for
Yeah,
him.
It
yeah.
don't. It doesn't even make sense at this point. No.
It's no interest in that fight either. So it would be a bunch of, it's no interest in that. No, not one person has said that. But hey, it wasn't
Well,
a bad question because you never know what's in the back of his head. He's probably like
Nah.
looking at Crawford, seeing something.
Nah.
another
I'm
thing
just
is
saying.
this. Another thing is this, right? You
Hold
you
up.
you
Before you say that, Shane, hold on to that. No, I was going to answer him.
you got it.
Sugar Ray Leonard did that to Hagler. He was out 5 years and he went to his fight and then he came back and whooped his ass. Go ahead, Shane.
So
Never
look,
sleep on it.
Floyd Mayweather has this claim as being the best fighter yet because he's never lost, and that's his biggest claim is that he never lost. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, you give a guy that is going to be in that conversation, and then you give him the opportunity to fight you, and then
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
older than him, and
Yeah.
when you lose, because I think that he loses to, especially now, I think that he loses to him. Now you have no claim for number one. He beat you,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you can make what I
No.
mean.
Yeah.
So I think it's stupid. I think you might as well just go on off into the sunset and
Mm-hmm.
allow people to have that debate. Allow them to just debate.
Yeah. Hey, let me read this guy. Chris Doyle said he's a great fighter with just my opinion, just like my opinion that Sugar Ray Leonard got it got it, but by Marvin Hagler. I guess you were saying that Sugar Ray Leonard got beat by Marvin Hagler. If that's what you're saying, confirm it. Um, well, yeah, Floyd just Floyd don't even want to do no vigorous camp like that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, screw the fight. Floyd ain't training for those guys he's fighting now. He's just happy go lucky, just hanging out at the gym. And
Making
then when
easy
it
money.
yeah, that's easy money. You don't want to go do a training camp. Shane, would you explain what goes on in an entire 6 to 8 week training camp? What you physically have to go through?
I mean, you do two, three training sessions a day. You're doing boxing. I usually do boxing in the morning, strength and conditioning in the
Yeah,
afternoon. You go for a run or whatever else afterwards, and then, and then you do that 5 to 6 days a week.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
Depending
tell
on the
them
week.
when you start to
Eh,
feel that bang, your body is talking to you in a lot of different ways. Explain a couple of things that you experience physically when you train like that.
Well, I mean, for one, you get all the body pains, and then with those body pains come, you can't get good sleep. People
Yeah,
people people actually don't talk about that enough. Like when
yeah,
you train really hard, it's hard for your body to turn off, your nervous system to turn off and
yes,
get good sleep. And that's why a lot of boxers don't actually get good sleep. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And can't recover the best way that they can. That's why they got to take the ice baths and stuff like that to kind of calm that nervous system down.
yeah,
Do the massages, things like that, in order to make sure that they can get to sleep,
yeah,
because that's one of the hardest parts. Like when I'm in a hard camp, it's hard to get to sleep. My body can be exhausted, but I can't get to sleep because my
yeah,
body's turned on. It's like,
yeah,
I just want to fight.
Mhm.
yeah.
To
You in
add
that
on to
So,
that,
zone.
I actually saw Terrence Crawford talking today, and they were asking him like, "How you feeling?" He was like, "I'm sore. I'm a little sore." And they was like, "I didn't see you take any punishment in that ring." He
Yeah,
said, "It's
but
not from the ring.
yeah,
It's from the weight going down in weight, and my body has to go back
yeah,
to its normal size." And
yeah,
I'm
mhm.
like, wow, there's so many little hidden gems that you don't know about
yeah,
boxing.
yeah,
You know, for
yeah,
Floyd to come back at his age and to fight a top contender, it
yeah.
doesn't make sense. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
no. And
Yeah.
and and it'd be different if Crawford was doing Pacquiao kind of numbers or Canelo, and you say, I got to go back and get that's a $200 million fight. It ain't.
Mhm.
He's not doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
His pay per view when he went over to that Prime was 15,000 sales, and not
Mhm.
that he's not box office skill, but marketing yourself is a different beast. And
Mhm.
those who understand marketing, it's not what people think. You got to have marketing gurus around you, and marketing is different than what people think. So Floyd understood that. That's why he got from under Bob Arum, because Bob Arum was focusing on marketing De La Hoya for being the golden boy
Mhm.
and being this golden medal. So he was the second coming of a Sugar Ray Leonard kind of guy, and that's a good business model, easier to market and stuff. So, Floyd bronze medal in the Olympics,
Yeah.
and that takes away from what you can market. So you got to go where the marketing is easier. And these guys don't build their own brand in social media, but they can today. You couldn't do it then because it won't no social media building. So now you can. So what do you think, Errol Spence? Tell me something that you're suspicious of with Errol Spence. Any of the couple of things that you saw that says something you in there with a better fighter. That's one. So I'm not taking anything from Bud. But did you see anything that just looked weird? Because I'm going to tell you something that I saw that I don't know if many other people overlooked it because they were just so excited or they just don't understand boxing. But I saw something very, very strange. Go ahead. Anybody? Did either one of you guys see anything? Yeah.
Go ahead, Shane.
Listen, I kind of, it's hard because look, Bud's been asking for this fight for 5 years, right? He's been into a car accident or two car accidents, and had surgery and all this other stuff, right? So you can clearly see that he's not the Earl Spence that we once knew him to be. But unfortunately, he didn't give Bud a chance to fight that guy. He
Mm-hmm.
gave Bud a chance to fight this guy, and this guy, yeah, may have something may not be right with him, but he fought this guy, he prepared for this guy, and he beat this guy.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard, like because like I understand what people are trying to say. Yeah, this ain't the best. That wasn't the best Errol Spence, but we'll never see that guy no more. Especially after that performance and after he got beat like that, after being in 2 car accidents and all the things that I said, and now you took that beating.
Yeah.
Like we're not gonna ever see that guy. I'm sorry, and
Yeah.
people can hate on me or whatever the case is, but
No.
like yeah, but what I'm saying is you could make the argument that he should probably be banned from boxing because of all of the trauma, and you can see neurological damage. Of course, you could see
Yes.
that. You can see that he's not processing the way that he should. But I still also think the man Bud Crawford had to beat him. He still had to put together that game plan, execute the game plan, and shut it down. Because guess what? Ugas couldn't stop him, and that was after the car accident and all that other stuff. And Danny Garcia, who are both great fighters and great champions, couldn't do it. So even though he's not the same guy, he still was able to shut those champions down and not let them do that. So with that being said, yes, I do think there's some neurological damage. Obviously, preparing for fights, like we said, having these past traumas, having all these things, some people that know that, his lifestyle is not always the cleanest when it comes to, those types of things. So obviously all that plays a factor. He's, what I mean? Yeah, you feel like you're Superman when you're in your 20s, but when you get to your 30s and stuff like that, you ain't Superman no more. Superman got to recover now. Superman got to take a break. So with all that being said, yes, I do agree that there was something wrong, but I don't think that was a lack of for the difference in the fight. I think that was going to be because he's no longer
fight was
that
about
guy.
skill.
Yeah, and he beat him with skill. But with that being said, I do think that there was some neurological damage. Obviously, I don't think he's processing the same way, but we didn't get a chance to see that, and we won't ever, unfortunately.
Yeah. I wanted to ask Stephen, when you saw him in the fight, did you see anything peculiar about him physically? Yeah.
His face.
Okay.
Even from where I was standing, I could see how red it was.
Yeah.
It was like a cherry type of red.
It was weird, right?
Yeah, it was a cherry type of red. So I don't know, due to the facial surgery or due to him falling on his face from the car, you could just see it from a mile away how red it was.
Yeah.
And you can see after how much it puffed. And he still have the heart of a champion. He still has the power when he was fighting.
Yeah.
But just abuse that. It got to a point where he got him. I told you Bud was gonna get him. All right, Bud, get him out of here. And it just got to a point like, all right, y'all, stop the fight.
It was bad. It was bad for a long time. I mean, you could really tell. Now, what I noticed, there are 2 things that I noticed. First, the beat red face. Even Roy Jones spoke to this. So in some of my reels that'll be going up, I'm going to put a little snippet of that there. My editors, I'm gonna make sure they get that in there. But the key is when he went out and he started to swell and bleed, just take note that the blood would not run. It was just hanging. And what that is from all of the surgery and the inflammation, not swelling, but inflammation. Like some of these things, they are serious. It's just like if a woman goes to get plastic surgery and then somebody smacks the shit out of her, 6 months later. And then like he's already fought Danny Garcia with that situation and you didn't see any of that. But Bud was hitting them with some different kind of stuff. And you could just see the injury that his face took going through those severe surgical procedures. He got new teeth. He's had eye situations and whatever else done that he had to get done. And I'm from the medical field. When I see that, I know that's, you used to have, he probably had to get a drain because he couldn't bleed. Blood was, but it wasn't running. And
to add on to that, it's easy to see like a scar on a person's face, but you don't know what's going on in the inside of the face. What I'm saying? There's a lot of arteries and blood valves, everything. And
Yeah.
when you have surgery and things are moved around and things are getting clogged and blood
Yeah.
can't push through,
Yeah.
that's when the things that we saw. You know.
Yeah. You're talking to somebody who was on a surgical team.
Hmm.
You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? For over a decade. So
Hmm.
I done seen thousands of surgeries, and I'm telling you, there's a lot going on. And then there's a channel who had some neurological doctors. Now, you guys, I'm going to break down what the neurological doctor said. This guy works with people with dementia, people with Alzheimer's, all of those brain diseases that attack your motor skills. And he said immediately when he saw Errol Spence, I want you to pay attention, because this is one of the things that you got to know about when you're watching fighters. Before I say it, I'm gonna read what Paul Haraber says, Coach. Um, you'd put Mayweather on the same page of when George Foreman staying in the ring too
Ring too
long.
long.
If Mayweather tried to come back and fight Crawford, you just leave gracefully. That's right. You just leave gracefully. That was a good. Yeah, no, but George needed to come back. Floyd don't need to come back. George didn't have any more money, so
Hmm.
he needed to come back. Now back to the neurological, the specialist. He said the signs were in Errol Spence's eyes when he walked out. His eyes were beet red and glassy, and he said that's the stare of a person with early on dementia symptoms. And he's saying that because not to put that on them, but he said these are just the symptoms. He said someone with dementia suffers from the lack of ability to move lateral. Derek James is telling them to move lateral, don't stand directly in front of him, but he won't move lateral. And I noticed he didn't start moving lateral just a little bit, like the seventh, eighth round. And it was like, you box. But when someone takes something from you like that and hitting you with stuff that's damaging you, that's what we call, I've been hit with punches and said, wow, I got great snap. And then there's a kind of punch that takes away your wellness. Like when Arturo Gotti and Mickey Ward fought, and in the 10th round of the second fight, he hit Mickey Ward. It was the 8th round. He hit Mickey Ward, and the way his head shook, he said, I couldn't get my vision back for like 3 months. He said, I saw three people for
Wow.
three. So you can pull that up. Actually, you can go watch it on YouTube, the Arturo Gotti documentary with Mickey Ward. And he was like, and I knew it when I see a punch, said there are punches that hurt, and then there are punches that take away wellness. When punches take away your wellness, that means it's taking off time from your life because it's damaged you internally. You know, I like the line that they had in Creed when Rocky said to them, even though that's not real, but Rocky took some punishment doing these movies with these monsters that he was in there with, Mr. T, Apollo Creed, the big Russian. He was taking those punches to make the fight look real, but he said that guy broke some things in me that ain't never been fixed. You know what I'm saying? Like that's wellness. And when you, as a fighter, you know when that's happening. That's why it's good to be a master at your defense, fall in love with your defense, but not to run away from punches, but to get into a place, into a space, into a hemisphere where you can work better because you got them drawn in. That's a science to that. And James Toney was a masterful scientist in fighting, and Bernard was that guy too in a lot of ways. If you look at Dwight Muhammad Cowie, you got to go back and find guys who were devastating in the trenches, and when they brought the smoke, they could bring the smoke because of that. And that's what, when I saw Errol Spence the second round, I'm like, his face was as red as my jacket, and I was like, what is up with this guy? And I I knew that this was just going to be a tough situation for him. Now I got another coach who's coming in from my school, Championship U, Coach Colazar. Welcome to the Fight Show.
Hey, what's up, fellas?
What's going
What's
on,
going on,
Coach?
Coach?
Hey, I heard you guys just talking about the neurological problems and
Yeah.
all that stuff. I got a unique perspective I wanted to share. I was just able to kind of come in, but nobody really talks about the effect of the two retinal detachments.
Mm.
Me personally, I've had retinal detachment in this eye, and I've had about 15 surgeries in this eye.
Wow.
And if you've never had a retinal issue, you don't understand that your entire vision completely changes.
Yeah.
And depending on where it is, you lose that field of vision completely. So if he had a tear on the inside of his eye, that means all his peripheral vision is gone. And
Mm.
and nobody really knows because they keep that quiet. But
Yeah.
usually, what happens, you have to relearn those cues because you can't pick it up.
Wow.
You can't pick it up visually. So you have to look at things differently. For example, myself, I lost all the first time I got my retina detached, I lost all the vision on this side.
Wow.
Anytime anybody throwing wide hooks, overhand rights, I couldn't see it.
Wow.
It took me about 8 months to start to really pay attention and
Yeah.
pick things up by watching the body. Now he didn't
How-
only have one retinal detachment; he had two retinal detachments,
yeah. Yeah.
right?
How
And
did you
Wow.
compensate, coach, when you were spar or work? How would you compensate when you couldn't see? Because Joe Frazier also had that problem. When he took his eye test, he tricked the doctor and they said, read the chart. So he read the chart and then the doctor said, switch eyes. And he just switched hands, but kept it on the same eye.
I
That's
remember.
how he was able to fight Ali the third time.
Um, so for me, I had a traumatic cataract in that eye, the same as Joe Frazier, and that's how it all first started for me.
Yeah.
And but what you have to do once you had a retinal detachment and once that vision changes, now you're really paying attention to the shoulders. You can't pick stuff up with your peripherals. You can't just
Yeah.
watch it the same way. You have
Yeah.
to train yourself to really like stay focused and watch the shoulders.
Yeah.
And if you weren't doing that before, it's something completely different because
Wow.
you don't
Yeah.
you're just looking and you can see it. You can
Yeah.
see things coming. But now, if you're not focused correctly,
Yeah.
it's completely different. And the other
Wow.
thing is, there's going to be a sweet spot in the distance, and this is one of the things that I was
Mm.
really watching with Spence was he closes more, he pushes more towards the ropes, and he gets inside because I think his sweet spot visually is on the inside where he can feel the punches coming a little bit
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
He can't see it the same way.
Yeah.
He like I think you were talking about, or one of you guys was talking about in the pre-fight, how he doesn't move his head. He doesn't move his head. He covers up. He blocks a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
That's typical for somebody who's he's a
Loose.
warrior. He went out there and put on a show, and this isn't taking anything away from his performance, but he's protecting that eye, whether it be consciously or unconsciously. Right?
Mhm.
He doesn't punch in between punches the same way as he used to. He
Yeah.
doesn't open up his counter game because
Very
you
good.
get touched to that eye, your hands come back.
Yeah. That's a very good point, coach. You're right. He really doesn't engage with that fisticuffs, which is hand checking. You're right. He doesn't. He's either throwing or he's defending.
Yeah,
He's not mixing those combinations up. And plus, he's not in there sparring with fighting against southpaws ever either. So you gotta, they don't have like Bud Crawford was sparring against Shakur Stevenson.
yeah,
Yeah, he was getting the best fighter
Mhm.
in that weight class.
Young, hungry.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that in sparring, everybody's about the same weight. Like everybody's big. Ain't nobody in camp. You're just working, and so you fighting. You ain't dehydrated. So don't underestimate what that lower weight class. Those are the toughest guys to fight. Shane, I know you can speak to that when you're sparring the guys who are slick and nice, and probably even your dad just can get inside and work. What's the toughest thing that you had to deal with sparring with Sugar Shane mostly?
Uh, trying to punch him back because I didn't I never liked sparring my dad. It was something for me that it just
Yeah,
what like I could spar anybody else. So like why beat on my dad, right? You know what I mean? He's been doing that for how long? There's
yeah,
so many other people. So my dad used to actually punch me really really hard to get me to punch him back, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do it. There's actually a time that I actually started crying because I like he wanted me to hit him, and I wouldn't.
Well,
So,
well.
but nevertheless, nah, but he punches hard.
Oh
That
yeah.
this time particularly that I'm talking about, he punched me right in the neck, and I couldn't move my neck for like 3 weeks. So, but yeah, man, like I think that just for me, I don't think, in my opinion, Earl had ever been much of a head mover, and he's usually kind of like a Mexican style. Like he has that pressure
Trucking
style,
people.
right? And he thumps people to death. So,
Yeah.
like I feel like, and he's never had to change. Right, he's never had to make any
No.
adjustments
Successful the whole time.
because most people fall to that, right?
Yeah.
But you have a guy that's very dynamic, knows how to switch, and that was one of my reasons why. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Me
Like
too.
even to train for a guy like Terrence Crawford is hard because you don't know what style he's gonna bring in, right? You don't know if he's gonna be right-handed, left-handed, he's gonna box you, gonna brawl you, there's so many facets to his game.
Yeah.
And then even just the understanding to have 3 guys in your corner that are your main coaches, that
Yeah.
takes flexibility in the mind to be able to flip that, right? Because like I mean, at least for me, when I hear my coach, I hear my coach. The whole gym could be going crazy, but if I hear my coach, boom. But imagine you got 3 guys you gotta listen for.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
hard.
No, that's
So
too
it's-
much. It's too much.
But
That's a team thing though.
Yeah.
but it takes a special type of athlete
Voice.
to be able to do that. A
Yeah.
special type of understanding and awareness to do that. And that's one of the things that also you know, like one of the reasons why I knew he was gonna, once he figured it out,
Yeah.
he was gonna do what it had to take to win. And I didn't like, again, I didn't think it was gonna happen that quick. I didn't think it was gonna happen in the first 30 seconds.
That convincing. Yeah. It was
I
just
I have a question for you guys. I have a
before you
question.
start, let me tell you, Chris Doyle was like all the credit to Spence to be able to come back from that car accident, but I definitely don't think he should fight again. And that's a very common statement
Yeah.
this week. Like there's more to him than losing that fight. But go ahead.
All right. So this question specifically for Shane, because he's the one that asked us this at the pre-fight. And the question that he asked was, how do you think that either of them will react if they get knocked down? Right?
Oh yeah.
On that
I
second
remember.
round, I thought about Shane. I was like, oh, this is what Shane said. Let's see what he's gonna do. And
He
my
hopped
response
up.
my response was he's gonna get back and do what he usually does and stick to his technicals. But Crawford didn't let him.
No, this is what you said.
Yeah.
You said he's gonna use his fundamentals. He's gonna fundamentally, get himself together, and then he's gonna get up, and then he ain't do nothing technical that night.
He rushed at Crawford, tried to get his
No.
lick back in.
Yeah, but what Coach was talking about, Coach
Mhm.
Colazar, is really his eyes. Look at the punches. Look how many punches he was right on top of Bud and missed by like 18 inches. Like, watch how many times he does that. Errol Spence is a short, pop, pop, clinical puncher. You don't miss that much. There's something more happening with his eyesight, and there was definitely something happening neurologically because he just could not get his, not just timing, because the skill that Bud was putting on him was taking away this timing, but he could not get shots off that were there to land because it was too much for him. That's what happens when somebody's too much for you.
Well,
Shane has been in the ring. You sparring somebody and you don't want to spar because you know you're too much for them, and they thought they wanted to smoke, but when they got in there, you were toying with them. That's what that was. He just couldn't close these distances. He couldn't figure out how to really, what kind of punches to throw to land, because his best punch was gone. So thanks, Chris Doyle. Go ahead. Whoever, you was about to say something, Steve, again.
No. I wanted to know how Shane, how did you interpret that situation? When he fell and got
I
back
mean,
up?
I think he realized that it wasn't his night, and I think he rushed it because he goes, I need to fix this the best I can, or it's going really downhill. But I think that just amplified the that process. Obviously, he
Mhm.
comes forward, and like I said, he wanted to time his left hand, and so that's why he was catching it and coming right back off the right with the right hook, boom, or the right uppercut, boom, right.
Hmm.
He's
Hmm.
letting him go and letting him expose himself. Boom,
Mhm.
catch. The door's open, baby. He's leaving the door wide
Hmm.
open because he's going,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So boom, catch that. The door's open, bam,
Mhm.
and that's why he was catching and countering just like that because
Coach,
on that side.
I
great
think
point. And I got a statement from Ted, and this is for all of you to answer because you guys know this. So he said, is it true that boxers get injured in sparring also due to the fact that they spar so many rounds? Speak to that, Shane and Coach Colazar.
Well, I have
Coach,
something
go
to add on
first.
to it too. I have
Okay.
something to add on to it too.
Thanks,
Actually, on
Ted.
on the way back home, the person that I was speaking to is a boxing manager, and
Mm-hmm.
he was going about the sparring and the damage that these guys take during sparring.
Yeah.
And he has a fighter called Elvis Rodriguez,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
and um, they were in. Somebody was in a sparring session. I ain't gonna say no names, but someone was in a sparring. Not his fighter though, but someone was in a sparring session, and they were being aggressive towards a fighter. So he's like, all right, he's being aggressive with me. I'll be aggressive with him.
Yeah.
The guy that was being aggressive got caught with an uppercut, knocked out for 16 minutes, started shaking, a little foaming. They had the
Mm-hmm.
defibrillator trying to see what was going to happen. About to call the paramedics. Took off his shoes, and he woke up. Brought him back to the locker room, and the guy says, "All right, I got a spar today." So he forgot everything that just took place,
Yeah, that's what happens when you get
right?
knocked out.
So there's a lot, they
Yeah.
do get hit and do get trauma. Even the guys that do win a fight, sometimes they
Yeah.
go back home and a few
Mm-hmm.
days later they can die. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So yeah, it is real.
Facts.
Yes.
Yes, it's facts. Yeah.
Coach.
And they shouldn't let him because it wasn't an actual fight. The gym should
mhm.
suspend him for the next month, and I do it too because those neurological things when your sport is neurological, and we're down here in Miami, and Tua Tongavalua has what 3 concussions this year, hitting
Hmm.
his head on the concrete, I mean on the football field, and they're talking about him already like he's taking jujitsu up. Coach Colazar, you need to get with him. He's taking jujitsu up to learn how to fall.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
hey, that's how these combat sports are. You need the other one to figure out the one you're doing. And
Absolutely.
now he's taking jujitsu to learn how to fall, which is very late because now people are considering classifying him as high risk, and he's not even in his pro contract yet. He got 1 more year, but that's the thing. So speak to the amount of sparring and scenarios that you may have run into. Y'all guys listen to this because if you're in the boxing game, or if you're mixed martial arts, you're going into a cage, you need to understand how much and how to divvy up your sparring. Coach, share with your sparring with
I
Ted.
mean, yeah, you take a lot. There's a lot of damage that is taken throughout sparring. I mean, physically, you're giving up your body. Knuckles, facial injuries, just superficial stuff. The wear and tear every
Mm-hmm.
day. I mean, I have an amateur program, so we have different levels. You have scenario-based sparring, you have speed sparring, and then you have your, you know, different tiers through sparring. And as
Yes.
you're preparing for a fight, yeah, you're gonna take your lumps, and most of the wear and tear in boxing comes through the training. You
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, because that's the day in, the day out grind. You
Yeah.
know, the fight, the results of a fight are very impactful as well. But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times, and this is why you don't see video footage of people sparring, this and that. People get hurt in sparring.
Yeah.
People get touched, and they try and keep those times real hush hush. Because if you got knocked out once, you're more likely to get knocked out again. And
Mm-hmm.
it you got to keep that quiet to protect yourself and your reputation as well on the big stage. But yes, sparring is where the real. I mean, in my opinion, for the younger guys, if it's not done correctly under the supervision of a good coach and
Yeah.
a good system, then yeah, you can take way too much punishment in sparring.
Yeah.
When you divvy it up correctly and you're educating and actually teaching in scenarios and different types of sparring, then you can kind
Mhm.
of mitigate that. But there's no way of getting around it. And I think Shane can speak more from his perspective as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, sparring is good. I personally, because I've done so many. I'm about to be 10 years a pro, so I've taken obviously I've done a lot of sparring. I mean, I know how to fight, and so lately it's been more so. Obviously, I still do my certain rounds when the time comes. Right, you have a scale. Make sure you can do 12 rounds. Obviously, and then you kind of funnel down closer to the fight. But
Yeah.
I've been liking more of um, deprivation sparring, which is like using a particular tool, right? Only left hand, only right hand, you
Mhm.
know, defense only, things like that. I feel like deprivation always helps because I mean, like everything, right? When you don't have a lot of money, you learn how to
Mhm.
spend that money really well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
When you're working on a budget, you learn how to spend that money super duper well. So the same comes with you know sparring, right? When you
Mhm.
have your weapons, hey, I only have my jab this round, or I only have you know a catch and counter this round, right? Whatever the
Mhm.
case is, whatever your coach gives you, that's you learn how to utilize those things and learn how to see it. So I like those things, and then sparring drills I think is important, right? Especially when you see what are kind of the habits of the person that you're going to fight, see what he likes to do. And habits come from obviously watching those fights and seeing um, all right, let me see a fight that he did a year ago. All right, let me see his
Mhm.
last fight. Where are the similarities? Where do I see? Does he do this and this? Yep, it's the same. That's a habit. Boom. That's a habit. That's a habit. Okay, we need to work on these habits. We need to
Yeah.
we need to study for these habits. And how do you study for those particular habits? You do sparring drills,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And you drill that particular thing that person does so you can work on different variations on how you're going to defend it, how you're going to react to it, how you're going to come about it. And why do you think that 2-1 landed so beautifully?
Yeah.
Right? Because that right jab comes right there.
Boom.
He leans over. Guess what? I'm going to knock that thing down, push him down even further so he leans in. Boom,
Boom.
left hand, right over the top. Boom, we get a knockdown. And it
Yep.
happened in the second round. So you could see that one guy had a game plan and one guy didn't. And that's one of the reasons why I think that Terrence even won. You know what I mean? Like you could say all the stuff that you want about his physical attributes, but one guy you could see, one guy studied and prepared
Very
for
prepared.
this guy, and
Hmm.
another guy didn't, and thought that everything that I used to do is going to work this time.
Yeah.
And not saying to say that that couldn't work for somebody else, but a
Hmm.
guy that's preparing for you, and you can see that preparation, and you can see that he's watched film. You could see that his coaches have watched film. You could see that they had
Mhm.
a plan and a B C D E F G plan.
Oh, they was ready.
They was ready because they've
Yeah.
been saying for years that we could beat this guy.
They was
Yeah.
ready. So
So
that's
with all
beautiful.
that being said, I believe that yes, sparring is
Mhm.
important, but I think the right type of sparring is specific to what you're trying to improve on and what you're trying to
Yeah.
get accomplished. Right?
That's
Just
right.
frivolously sparring just to punch each other in the face is stupid. Right?
Well,
There's
that's
other things that we can do.
That's what you see more of than the other. And just say that right now there's some, 18, 17-year-old kid who's beasting at his gym and he thinks he can just get into the ring. Just like when you see a D1 school in football want to go play a power, a power like a USC, a team that's established like, Alabama. And they think, okay, they got 52 guys like we got 52 guys. And then they get out there and they get smoked 97 to nothing. And they don't understand why. This is what Shane is saying, because we find out everything you got. And if we've never seen you spar, we'll figure you out before the third bell rings for you to go out, and you'll get undressed like on
Hmm.
prom night. You don't understand how serious boxing is. It's some wizards and some geniuses in this game, and I know because I was groomed by them. And when I said this is, I got to see some really heavy punchers throw some heavy stuff. And really, if you don't understand how serious it is when you're the Huckleberry that night, because you came in there thinking. I remember, I'm gonna tell you a 30-second story. This kid, he flew in from, it might have been Atlanta, it might have been Florida, and he was like on the national team. He was nice, and he was like 6'3", very, very slick with it, good power. He kind of reminded me of Boots Ennis, just skilled. And our guy was super nice. Like I call him the Ray Robinson because Julius was like 6'1", just beautiful. And he always go and do his camps. He do a lot of camps out there with Emmanuel Stewart at the Crunk. So he will bring back a lot of good, Crunk. Manuel was teaching systems. He's not just teaching boxing. And what Shane is talking about is systemizing sparring. So when he would come back, he's putting in work. So he's kind of, I hadn't seen him spar in a while. It had been like 2 months. And this kid had just been running. He's like, oh, I'm running 12 miles. He's like, yo, we getting ready for Chris Bird. How you ain't sparring? Like, okay. He gets in there. This kid gets on the plane, comes up here. It's wall to wall like at the Kronk. This kid get in the ring. Julius is our best super middleweight. And because he hadn't been sparring, he gets in the ring with this kid. This kid eats his lunch. I mean, 3 rounds. He couldn't make it through the 3rd round. He got out and he spars at the Kronk. So you know how I get down. You got James Toney. You got all the body snatcher. You got all those killers out there. And he couldn't do it here. So what I realized is he said, did I hit him? He got out of the ring. He was busted up. He looked like, Errol Spence, but blood was running. He was like, did I hit him? Like, this is a dude that is like Floyd with his accuracy. He just never misses. And I was like, I don't think you did. I don't think you hit him. But that's what happens when you don't spar and you fight somebody who's been sparring, who's been fighting at a world-class level. And so the sparring is a real tricky thing. But guys, don't underestimate going into a gym you haven't sparred at, because there are levels to this thing and there's systems behind sparring. So you can't just come off the street and think you can just start sparring against a world-class guy. It doesn't work like that. What you did in the street, you can't do in the ring. It takes decades to learn how to transition that stuff you can do in the street. It's two phases of boxing, amateurs and pros. When you're an amateur, you learn how to do boxing because that's your primary method. You learn how to box good enough so when it calls for it, you can fight. But you got to learn how to box first. Then at the end of that boxing, if somebody getting the best of you, can just say, yo, I'm gonna turn on this thing. I can box good enough to fight. The difference is when you in a pros, you're a prize fighter. So when you get in trouble, you got to go back to learn how to box. So you're using your boxing off of your fighting. And in the amateur, you're using your fighting off of your boxing. You get what I'm saying? Does that make sense? That resonates.
Absolutely.
And people don't understand. It takes a decade to just get one all the way down and then another one, so you got to be careful when you're going in there. And that's for any young fighters and coaches when you get on your ego tip, because you're beating everybody in Lick, North Carolina, and then you want to come to somewhere like Miami, or you go out to Cali, Vegas, and Philly and Baltimore, and you think it's the same. It's not the same. You know what I'm saying? You're a D3 school. You're going up against a D1. You got to be careful with that. So don't let your ego go. Go ahead, Coach.
Andre Ward, he said something, and it was a real obscure video clip, but it really resonated. He was talking about right before he was going up to fight what's his name, the Crusher. He was like, all he wants to do is go spar, but Virgil has him doing drills. And the thing that made him a champion is the drilling. The drills. He said he hated them. They were boring. Every day he'd load them coming in. but the sparring drills are what made him
Yes.
elevate the game to where he's at. It speaks to what Shane was talking about.
Yeah.
It's the drills,
Drills.
and especially for the young fighters, they get bored with these drills, but that's where it's at.
Yes, right. You learn the layers and cadences when you learn how to see. We let them spar. They touch each other 5 days a week. They get to touch each other, but it's different layer and levels of the sparring. It's touching and learning cadences. You know, Shane, your dad got him. You got him. You know how to punch in different ways. Every punch ain't the punch to hurt them. Setting them up, throwing them off, fainting them out of position, seeing what he got. All of these different things come into play. But then Friday, they get to earn, they get to put the smoke in. On Friday, they get to spar, they get to go in there and go after it. All week, you only get a couple of minutes to let go a little bit towards the end because you're loose. And so on Friday, your rhythm, your timing is so ready. You're throwing stuff that's just beautiful. And that's one of the things that real coaching up fighters, grooming them right, that creates a product that is just, second to none when it comes down to timing. Now, there's a statement made that there was something else that happened in the fight. The doctor got into the ring. This is why we know there's more going on. Doctors are not allowed in the ring during the fight inside of the ring. They're supposed to come to the ring apron and check the fighter and do that. When this guy got in the ring and there had been nothing had happened yet. Like nothing really had happened. He'd been down. He's a world champion. He's holding 3 belts.
Mhm.
So when the guy got in the ring, we knew that there was something else happening. And this was brought up on that show with the neurological doctor. He was saying the exact same thing. They know something that they are not alluding to. Pay attention to the media soon. Things will leak out because that was coming from the top down. That wasn't coming from the corner up. That move, that was not legal. That's against rules. That's just like a fan coming and getting inside the ring. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't do that. So especially when there's the referee don't say, hey, come over here and look at it. He just did it. He just did it. It was no indicators. So y'all pay attention to that. Go back and look at the fight and see just little things that were happening that lets me know further that there was much more going on and much more known before that fight was on the way. And so you just really got to pay close attention. But thank you.
Are you sure that's a rule that because I mean I know in the UFC like usually they go and check the eyes and they have the flashlight or whatever the case is. Hey, you're right.
And they didn't have that. That's what I'm saying. And they didn't even have the flashlight, because they didn't call for the rep. I mean, they didn't call for the doctor. There wasn't just that. It was 4 or 5 things that happened just around that. First, no one called for him. Second, he didn't even check him. Third, that's not where he's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just too much happening that just not supposed to be happening that way. That was just a domino of things that says there's something more happening. If a guy's walking out of a bank with a pair of stockings on his head and 2 big bags, there's probably not just a deposit taken. You get what I'm saying? That's a bank robbery. So you got to pay attention to the details. And when a doctor is called upon, he's called upon. He just got in the ring. Go watch it and just check it out for yourself.
I got a
go
question.
ahead, Stephen.
Well, I want to say this. It's something that Terrence Crawford said a while ago, right? And he was like, you know what? They're always counting me out. If I beat this guy, they said, oh, he was washed up. If I beat this guy, they said he was done. So this was way before the car accident. So when I heard the car accident, I'm like, damn. If they do fight, this is just going to be another extra thing, right? But this goes back to another question from last week, which was, who has the better corner?
Yes.
And I wasn't able to hear what the corners were saying because I was there live. I don't know what happened on the screen, but a lot of people are commenting and saying Derek should have stopped the fight.
Yes.
And Kenny Porter, Sean Porter was discussing that during his podcast, and it was he said something about the fight against Terrence Crawford, and it was very powerful. Sean said, I love my dad, I respect my dad. But there was something that took place in that ring that you guys didn't see. You guys saw what happened on Terrence's corner and them saying, all right, you're down. And Terrence, like, he's up, and then he went in there and took care of business.
Yeah.
He said, I didn't have that in my corner. He said, low key, I feel like, my corner didn't believe in me as much as his corner did.
Well, you
I
know
was
why?
doing
Do you know why?
No.
Because Sean had started working the desk and he started to believe in his own stuff, and he didn't want to do what his dad wanted him to do in the camp. So
That's
his
what he
dad
said.
said he's not listening to me in camp.
Mhm.
I know. Look, how do you think he got this far? The adjustments.
Mhm.
I told you guys a long time ago. I said my fighter helped them in the Devin Alexander fight when he won the title, and it was because he's teaching. Because Kenny hadn't won a world title, he need to be around people that have won it and been at that level. And so he always would bring in people with experience. So he brought in Rashad for that experience, and they went in there and they changed how they fought. Go and watch Devin Alexander. That's the first fight that he started pressuring guys, mauling guys, and then Paulie was next, and he destroyed Paulie. And I'm telling you, he had learned how to make adjustments. And then he's trying to make it clear to Sean that you don't know how to fight this kind of dude. Listen to me. I got Barry Hunter with me. Barry Hunter, he works right up in DC. That's they stable, and they come down and do it in Fort Lauderdale. Look, these dudes know what they doing. You a fighter. Everybody has a responsibility. Listen to the instruction and execute them. They got you this far. You gotta
Wasn't
listen.
Sean up?
Huh?
Wasn't Sean really up on the scoreboard?
No, not against Crawford. No.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really think so.
Officially,
It's
he
how you
was.
look at your fight.
No, but officially he was.
But what I'm saying is, they fight in a 12-round fight. Like, strategically, Crawford know that they gonna beat him. They know it. Of course they know it. They got the guy. Sean knew that Crawford was a problem. I want you guys to listen to me. If I'm in your corner, Shane, and I'm like, I don't know, man, this dude is a killer. Like, because that dude is a real killer. So you got to come and upset the apple card. They came out with the war hat on, the haggler. Like you come in with all the bells and whistles, but what you might be mistaken, because I look at it from a philosophy standpoint. I always have and I always will. I look at other things than the physicality and the skill set. I'm looking at their mindset going in, and it's hard for his father to have full confidence when his son has given him pushback through a fight. Shane, you've been in that situation. I know if your dad trained you, there's gonna be pushback. So the camp was like this, and sometimes that don't work in your favor. Sometimes
that's what really hurt him. That's what really hurt that fight,
no,
which was
John
the
Crawford.
fighter, the fighter
Crawford
and the
hurt
coach.
him because his ass is going out of there sooner or later. He won't gonna make it 12 with Crawford.
Nah, the fighter and the coach wasn't seeing eye to eye. So at that moment where Crawford spoke to his corner and they told him, "Hey, you got to amp it up," and he was like, "Oh, I got to hurry up and finish this up."
Yeah.
Sean didn't have that, and because he wasn't seeing eye to eye, that was it. The father already was discouraged, and he was like, "You know what? I don't want to see my son take any, unnecessary beating."
Yeah.
He already didn't listen to me during camp. He's fighting a beast right now. Does my son have the recipe to go against this elite fighter? Because like everyone's saying, there is levels to fighting. You have the Danny Garcia, you have the Keith Thurmans, you have the Errol Spences, but there's a level beyond, which is the Sugar Ray Leonard, the A plus
A levels. They're the A levels. Like Danny Garcia, you can't walk in
their
there
IQ. Their IQ is so elite that they can slowly start to figure it out, like Mayweather. Figure it out, switch it up, and it becomes a real chess game. And if you can't compete on that level, you're gonna get left behind.
You got to know how to adjust. You got to know how to do that on the fly if you want to win at the A plus level.
Fellas,
And
who had the better corner?
yeah, so the better corner that night was definitely Bo Mack and them. And the reasons why is because Bo Mack really spoke directly to what they need to do, and they did every single thing. And his confidence was just, he didn't go boastful. He was very confident and strong as a coach should be. And he even gave voice to the other coach. In Derek James' corner, he kept telling them to do the same thing. So what I was going to ask Coach Colazar and each of you, what would you do when your fighter is not listening to the instruction that you know would work? How do you make an adjustment then? What do you say? How do you say it? Colazar, go first, and then Shane.
We just had that. I had fighters fighting this last weekend as well, and I had the same issue. My fighter, I was calling for something in the corner, and he wasn't making the adjustments. He wasn't responding the way I wanted him to, and it was just he was having one of those nights where he wasn't present. And as a coach in the corner, I'm doing everything that I can to try and get his attention. I just keep the instructions very simple, very clear, one or two times. But the main thing is I'm trying to get his attention on me and focus on what I'm saying him, because really he's just not even there. He wasn't even paying attention. Derek James in the corner, he could have gave him all the right answers. I don't think that Spence could have did it, even if he gave him the keys to the castle. But as a corner, it's frustrating when you're calling for it and your fighter isn't able to do it. And usually it's not the physical skills, it's what's going on in here.
Yeah.
And so you have to try and like you were talking about, Coach, it's psychologically you're trying to reach into them, and you almost got to go Teddy Atlas. You almost got to sit in the chair for yourself, right? Or and go old school, so you can reach something inside of them and let them know how important it is that you listen and pay attention.
Yeah.
You're blowing it, kid.
I'm gonna give you a suggestion when you guys, if you're in that boat again. But go ahead, Stephen.
No, I was just quoting Ali's coach. Forgot his name, but Teddy or one of them. They were
Angelo
like, "You're blowing
Dundee.
it, kid." Yeah, Angelo, you're blowing it, kid. You're blowing it.
Yeah.
It's really up to the coach, because the coach knows the fighter the best. You know what I'm saying? And it really depends on the training camp and how distant that fighter is from what's going at home and whatever that's interfering that fighter's mental state. But like you were saying, like Coach was saying, got to get in their face and pull them away. And if they still cannot listen and they're taking damage, then I would personally stop the fight.
Okay, Shane, what's your vantage point? Because you're still fighting, so
Well, my thing is I don't feel like there was the proper preparation for it. I don't think that there was a plan B. I don't think there's a plan C. So, and I don't think that there's ever been, like, because he's never had to.
Yeah.
He's always fought the same way, and that way has got him to that point. So when had they ever had to have created a plan B? And when did he ever have to use it? When do I ever have to practice my speech?
Plan
Never.
A is so strong. Plan A will always work so well. So why create another?
Exactly. So with that being said, I obviously, you try, a few rounds to see, like, look. I mean, I don't know if you tell them, like, look, this ain't working. We're wrong. We gotta do something different. You know what I mean? We gotta dig into our bag of tricks that we've never done before. We gotta do something we've never done before. Let's move around. You're still good at seeing openings. So let's see how you can pick off some of those shots. And whenever you get a chance, try to stab him with that jab, right? Reestablish your jab. Move around, like, because he's taking away your jab, coming forward. Now let's move around and try to establish that jab, or at least see how we can establish that jab from a distance. Maybe that mid-range or that even long range, so that we can get a different vantage point and perspective, right? And then from there, I see what happens. But if we can't establish that, if we can't reestablish our jab, the fight's over. And we have to, we got to call it. And I think after the fourth round, you got to call it. Like
Mhm.
even that particular fight after the fourth round, you had to call it because he was not reestablishing his jab, and Derek wasn't giving him any instructions. So I think that was failure on both sides. I mean, as far well, preparation wise, and I mean, and he didn't know how to tell him like, look, let's move around and reestablish.
Mm.
So
Okay,
yeah,
so here's the thing, Coach Colazar. How long do you need to talk to your fighter?
You have 37 seconds.
Okay, so you don't want to tell him too much because Shane, you fight. You know that. You need something simple, something that's applicable. The first thing you need to find out is what is giving the fighter a problem. What is his anxiety? You really need to find out from the fighter because fighters aren't typically going to communicate too much. Floyd was one of few, but because that was with his dad. So find out, is this jab giving you the problem? Is this counter giving you the problem? Find out the problem first, and then you can deal with the issue because anxiety is preventing him from doing what's necessary to do. And so it's just like a psychiatrist. You got to work your way through it. That's where being educated in communication, like Nassim Richardson would say, I'm not an expert in verbal linguistics, but I do understand human communication. That's why my mentor wanted me in the corner in a championship situation because I knew how to talk to the fighter at the most crunch time in the world. And when he trusted my voice over his own, because he was in it emotionally, and I just that's my talent. That's the thing, communication, whisperer, and you have to find out because if he goes out the second time and then do shit that you said,
Mm-hmm.
there's more going on than what everybody's thinking of. Don't put that pressure on you. Give him the microphone like you would your child, because if you always dad with your child, he's never getting to be a person. Then you've stripped him of his humanity. You've stripped him of his self, his personal self. So that's when it's time to let him direct for a split second and be vulnerable. Could say, well, he's countering my jab really hard. Okay, do you feel comfortable going lateral? And you know what I'm saying? It's hard. Like where I'm not sure if you're aware, you're not going lateral. So let's get low and slide out hard. Let's do that 2 or 3 times this round. So now you're communicating and it's an agreed upon conversation. Where I see a lot of coaches, all they do is, yeah, this is what you do. Like, go throw a lot of punches, let your hands go, don't let them hit you. Like, okay, that's the perfect way to throw a fighter's career away. So that's what I notice. And I know everybody, the fight, especially in pros, it's moving so fast. Even coaches ain't seeing it like you would
Mm.
think they see it sometimes. You really have to get reps in this game. And you really
I,
have to sit there and do it a lot so
I have
you
a
can
question.
really, but go ahead.
My question to you, Coach Eric, is how much do you think the pressure of him um, doing well in this fight because he had the whole Texas behind him, he had the Texas football team, he had all these celebrities. Like, how much do you think that was sitting on him
No,
mentally?
no. He didn't bring a big enough bag like Shane said and Coach Colazar said. You got to have game plan B and C. You can't just have them because they did. They worked on different stuff. They just didn't bring it in the bag that night. Like I
Mm-hmm.
go to every time I would go out of town to stay with Stacy's parents, I would always leave my damn underwear. I'd leave my damn shirt. I would always leave something. I always got the stuff, but I didn't pack that bag right. And
Mm-hmm.
when they
Mm-hmm.
came to the fight, that bag won't pack right. And
Mm-hmm.
even if they would have had a jump over Mount Everest because that's just not a fight that they would have won
Yeah.
on any given night. So you got to say, you remember last week when we discussed when you are fighting a guy you can't beat, you got to do unconventional things. Do like Jerry fucking Lewis and run around the damn ring and have him chase you around the ring. You
Mm-hmm.
can't just fight him and win a fight up against this guy with this level of skill and calm nature.
Oh man.
He's just sitting in the pocket like boop, boop, Like, dude,
I've never seen Terrence that focused and that calm.
it was an easy fight for him.
I
For
never seen him.
stylistically, it was easy fight for him. Stylistically, Arrow made it very easy.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't think it would be that easy, but Arrow made it that easy because he was just not on with what he would do. He just wasn't patient. He wasn't relaxed. He wasn't confident. He was cocky, but not confident.
Mm.
That's not enough. I never want to see you lose a fight because of that, Shane. Never
Mm.
be cocky, always be humble, because humble warriors are the warriors. Other guys just probably found themselves having to fight. But when you're a
Mm-hmm.
humble warrior, whenever you're a prize fighter, you're the meanest guy in the building and you know how to compartmentalize it and control it. That's what makes you dangerous because you can minimize and pour water on emotion and impulse, and you can stick with a game plan. That's the most dangerous fighter. And that's what guys like Floyd was able to do, James Toney, Bernard Hopkins, Archie Moore. They never got outside of themselves. You never seen them swinging wild and missing big punches because they were always calculated. They're just trying to win. So they don't think about all the shit that the guy talked between, at the press conference. They just winning the fight. Pop, 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 out. I'm just doing what I need to do skill set wise. So that's it, man. That's kind of what we wanted to do. Give the people something very, very strong and give you a good takeaway. So I hope that this was good. Anybody else got any closing words, any points that you want to make before we close it down?
I mean, I guess I could say, one last thing. When it comes to the pressure, a lot of Bud's fights,
Yeah.
and one of the things that made him great was the fact that he likes to fight in that red zone, like in that danger zone, and
Yes.
he's
Good
willing to
point.
trade big in that
Yeah.
danger zone.
Yeah.
And that's how he got the uppercut knockout against Benavidez. That's how he gets these, crazy knockout with Evanescence.
Yeah.
All these some of his greatest knockouts are punching in between
In the paint.
shots in that red zone.
Yeah.
And so when you have a guy that's that comfortable in the red zone,
Yeah.
he's not going to be, afraid to maybe get in there and
Yeah.
be in the red zone with another guy that
Yeah.
is fighting in the red zone.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, this is what I normally do, and he's
Yeah.
had however many welterweight fights, and they all been knockouts.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. That's another
Yeah.
confidence booster. So I fight in the red zone. I get all these guys out in this welterweight division,
Yeah.
and you bringing that type of confidence to this fight. When it comes to, okay, now we got a game plan for this particular guy. Okay, yeah, it's not looking very positive for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you're right.
And then you had Shakur Stevenson, who's a monster, a master boxer, and who also fights in that red zone, who is also very, very mean southpaw. And no, he's not maybe the same strength or maybe the same,
level
like that.
weight wise.
Right. But he is a high level, high skilled, and very explosive and fast. So you have that going into you got a lot of positives and a lot of confidence going into this fight. I got my pistol, my shotgun, my Uzi, my Mac 10, man, I'm ready. I got whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do, I got it.
Well,
So,
they learn that it's levels, and you don't just go up another level because you lost to a level. He needs to really consider his future. I know he won't because but when he starts to go get those exams, things will show up because it showed up on his fight night. And I don't like to see a guy like that at that stage, this young, go through that. But Mickey Ward, look, that's why Mickey Ward retired. That shot that Gotti hit him with, you go back and watch that. It was the third fight. He caught him in like the 8th round. I knew he was not going to fight again. And that's what I saw in Errol Spence. Errol Spence had that same look that Mickey Ward had in that third Gotti fight. Those are the type punches that take your wellness away. Like you feel it, you're scared because you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna ever be the same, and you don't. And
he needs to consider that.
You don't
He needs to
need to get
consider
back
that.
in there with him, and you need to take at least 2 years to think about
Mm.
it. And but we just don't want that for the sport. And
Yeah.
for all of you guys who are up and coming in the sport, make sure you get good mentorship. You got guys, if you're out there on the West Coast, there are mentorship programs going on. I put your K2 boxing and jiu-jitsu down on the screen. If anyone's out there at Everett, Washington, Seattle, and you got to travel somewhere that's going to give you schooling, that's a great place. And then you got Shane and those guys up here in Cali doing great things out there, making moves in this boxing sport. And that lineage, it does come into play. And Shane, I want you to not elude your lineage, but lean into it, because
Yeah.
that it was there for a reason. And if when my son is growing the rest of the way, I'm gonna put juice under him. I don't have to be directly up under him, but the juice, what I came here to do, I want to put wheels on his vehicle to get him all the way to where he wants to get. Because my life meant that. That's why I lived this life that way. So my children could have a road that is possible to get them high as they want to, because you want your children happier than you and more successful than you. And I'll take it on my hat that they did it, that they got that far because I sacrificed my life for them to get that far. So you guys take care.
Can I?
Thanks for watching. Go ahead, Shane.
So I want to say this because this is how I feel about that. Is that the wills that he gave me was the fact that he could do it and that he did it and he showed me how to do it. I don't
Yeah,
need nothing from him.
yeah,
I don't need nothing from him. What
yeah,
I need is the fact that he showed
yeah.
me that he could do it,
The blueprint.
and now that means
Yeah,
I know I can do it.
yeah,
I know I can do it because he
yeah,
did it. So
yeah,
for your son,
yeah,
by seeing you do it, by
yeah,
seeing you get all the success that you have, is
yeah,
more than enough. He did. You
yeah,
don't
Hmm.
need to give him a dime because
yeah,
he
yeah,
said my daddy can do it. So guess what?
yeah.
I can do it.
I love that, boy. I love
He don't need
that.
no
I
money. I
love
promise
the,
you. He don't need no
I,
money. I promise you.
I love that energy. Yeah, that's it. You
Well
just
spoken.
want to show that path. That's powerful, man.
Well
I love
That's
spoken.
it.
That's it, man. But guys, thank you for taking time. Coach Colazar, Steven, Shane. I did it
Peace.
again.
All right.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
fellas.
Check it out.
Thanks,
Bless.
fellas.
So we're gonna
All right.
talk again, Shane. I wanna, I told you what we're gonna do. And thanks
Yeah.
guys for watching. Continue blessings to all of you. And continue to follow us at Master Boxing across the board. Peace out, guys.
Peace. Peace.